ahead and go live here on YouTube. And we're going to go ahead and go live right here. And let's. Well, good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? I know it is a Friday afternoon, right about 3:30 here, and we're actually getting ready for an episode of Random Chat. I know we've not done a Random Chat in a little while, not super live like this. We're live streaming on Facebook, live streaming on YouTube, and of course, we're live on 216thenet, 216thenet.com. Now, it's interesting because Fridays, the first and third Friday of every month, we had this time at 3:30, we have Ask a Bookkeeper with Stephanie Connolly of Steph's Books. Fantastic show, all about bookkeeping tips, how to keep your business in order. And Steph does a phenomenal job. She actually has clients all across the country that she works with. And she's actually based right here in the McHenry County, Illinois area. And I say right here in the McHenry County, Illinois area, because that's where we are streaming from forthwith unto you. And we are actually high atop the William Tunyon and Son General Contractors building on the south side of McHenry as you're either coming into town or going out, depending on whether or not you're going north or south on the road that goes in front of the building. That's just the way that works. But we are actually very thankful for the space and for all the support that they provide. In fact, Tuesday this week, it was a whopping 86 degrees in the studio. It was a friggin' sauna. So Wednesday, they were on it. They actually put in a brand new air conditioning unit for our section of the building here. And lo and behold and lo, it was actually 56 degrees in the studio, according to the thermometer on the wall, the thermostat on the wall. Here in the studio is a whopping 56 degrees. So I had my little Mr. Rogers sweater on there, and we were trying to stay as toasty as we could during Mary Catherine's Power Hour this morning. And then, of course, during What's in Your Loaf with Deacon Skeet. Now, today on Random Chat, we're actually going to be talking with the Chicago actor Mike Latone. Now, Mike Latone also happens to be one of the hosts of your no, he does not. Wrong show. I was about to spit out the wrong show. Mike happens to be one of the hosts of Mike and Fran Unrehearsed. And Mike and Fran Unrehearsed airs every Wednesday at 12 noon on 216thenet. It's an awesome show where he talks with his mom. He takes your questions. They take your questions from wherever you might be out there and frame them up. And Mike has his mom share her 93 years of wisdom with you. So hopefully you'll enjoy talking with Mike. We're going to ring him up here shortly. Random Chat is just that. It's random. We talk about whatever's going on. If you happen to catch us on YouTube Live or on Facebook Live, throw a note in the comments here. Let us know you're out there. Say howdy, hi, hello. And if it turns out you've got a question for Mike himself, we'll let him know, and we'll pop that out there for him to answer for you. Meanwhile, you know what? I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, ring Mike up, see if we can get him on the phone here real quick, because that's just how we do right here on 216thenet. So let's give a call, and let's see if we can get Mike. I can tell that Mike has answered the phone because I can hear myself in the background.
Hello, it's Mike.
Mike, good afternoon. This is Pete here with 216 The Net, and you're live on the air for an episode of Random Chat. You might want to turn down whatever you have us playing on the back because we're getting a loop.
Yes, sir.
So, glad that you're tuned in and already listening. And that's really awesome. And hopefully we've got a lot to talk about because we have at least 20 to 25 minutes to fill. We like to get as close to 4 o'clock this afternoon as we can. And I know from listening to your show here on 216 The Net, and I was just telling people about it, that you are generally not at a loss for words. Neither is so I'm hoping, because I don't have anything specific written out, and Random Chat usually isn't about specific. We usually just get on the phone and start yakking with folks. And so I'm glad that you're available this afternoon. So what's your day been today? Why don't we just start there? What have you been up to today?
I love it. First of all, I just want to say that I'm so happy to be involved with 216 The Net. And we are just having the time of our lives with this show. It's Mike and Fran, unrehearsed. And Mom was a little reluctant. Mom's been around a little while. She's got a lot of stories. She's always been a really good storyteller. And I kind of took it for granted. But, some people have a good way to entice their audience just naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mom has that. And I'm glad that we're able to, get her out there and let her tell her stories. So it's just been a lot of fun. A lot of folks that she's known through the years are sort of tapping into the program, and they're going to submit it to District 59 teachers from all the retired teachers that she knows. And I'm spinning my wheels to try to get the word out on the show, to get as many people as I can to listen in.
Well, I know whatever you're doing must be working, and we're working a lot on that as well, because we're plugging. Along with you, we have quite a few brand new shows here on 216 The Net. But you're only 2 weeks in. You aired last week. Wednesday was your first show. This week Wednesday was your second show, and you've already got big fans. In fact, I have to get a list of questions that we've received over to you, and I'm going to do that before I leave the studio this afternoon. So probably right after we're done with this episode of Random Chat, you're going to get an email of a handful of questions, and you can do with those what you will. So, but
that's fantastic.
You guys have already got fans. A little bit less than 20 years, your mother, Junior.
Wow.
So my mom's in her 70s, and she just absolutely adores your show, and she absolutely loves Fran.
Oh, that's just fantastic. You'll have to meet one of these days. That would be great.
It would be awesome.
Mom would say to somebody in their 70s that they're a spring chicken. That's what Mom can say, because Mom's 93.
Yeah, and I believe my mother would love hearing that. So.
Okay, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, I've been Mom on and off for years, and we're sort of a team now. I'm the middle child. I'm still single after all these years, but whatever I do in my life, Mom is always part of it, and I'm always part of her life, and we're just compatible that way. And sometimes I think if it was any other way, where one of our other siblings was involved with Mom, that it wouldn't have worked out as good as it did with me. Because we sort of have a interesting, outgoing, open mind when we meet people and we do things, and carry on conversation has never been an issue. And it just kind of helps for a compatible relationship. And my goal is to get Mom to 103. That's what I want to do. So we go to the doctor's appointments, and I take my little notes and my books, and we make sure we're doing all the right things. And right now we're kind of looking for a holistic type of medicine, or the doctor, so that we could align her supplements and her diet and things with the best chance of beating the little issues that you have when you get to be 93. I mean, she's completely mentally alert, and that is fantastic, because a lot of people in their 90s are not. But she's in 2 book clubs. You know, she's well read. She's educated. She, oh my God, she could carry on a conversation about just anything. One of the running jokes was with her father was that he would corner people, and he would wind up talking about one topic in particular that most people had no idea what he was talking about, and it was black holes.
Okay.
Yeah, and he would corner people at my college graduation, and if you talking to them in the corner, they couldn't get a word in edgewise, and if you talking on black holes, and I found out later that my aunt's husband had the same problem, and I go, what was Grandpa talking about? Black holes. And I'm like, wow, it must have been a good topic for a number of years. But anyway, I'm digressing, right?
No, that's exactly what this is for. So that's perfect. I mean, black holes are, I would see where someone would get completely fascinated with that, because we don't really know, other than that they exist and how we can observe them from, completely very afar. We don't know much about them. We know what they do, or what we think they do, but that's really about it. And my daughter is, my daughter is actually majoring in astrophysics. She's got 1 more year left for her undergrad, and then she goes on to get her PhD in her postgrad studies. But she's got after this 4 years of college, she's got about another 5 or 6 to go. She's already been working in, they've studied black holes a little bit, but she got to do some internships wherein she was actually gathering data on what are called ultra diffuse galaxies, which are very new to us. Of course, they've been out there for friggin' ever, but they're galaxies that don't behave the way we know galaxies should behave insofar as how we understand physics, because they're ultra diffuse just simply means that they're more galaxies that are more lightly populated, but maintain the same amount of space area as galaxies that are heavily populated. They should be much smaller. We don't know why that is. So
I didn't know that your daughter was a astrophysicist, and we didn't plant the seed, and it was like really kind of interesting that just came up like that.
Yeah, no, but she's been one of those people, maybe like your grandfather, that she lives. She's not a resident of the planet Earth. She's not a resident of the house, the neighborhood, the town, the city, the state, the planet Earth. She's a resident of not even our galaxy. She's a resident of the universe. That's where her brain lives.
Wow.
So she is in and of and part. That's just how she thinks. It's just how she operates. She is of the universe. And so I learned very early on, and maybe this is what was challenging for the people talking to your grandfather. I learned very early on that I had to significantly expand my thinking and expand my awareness of self in order to keep up with her. I mean, compared to her, I'm a freaking orangutan in a suit. I'm a talking monkey in a shirt. So,
well, there's only like a handful of chromosomes that differentiates us from chimpanzees, but
but they're important. There are some important chromosomes. So, what I'm thinking.
When I caught wind of time travel as a kid, and I was a Star Trek fan and all this kind of stuff, and it started off with probably Lost in Space, if you could remember that.
Oh no, I loved Lost in Space.
No, I mean, we used to watch that religiously, and we had a black and white TV, and I would go to my neighbor's house because they had a color TV, and that was the thrill of the week, was being able to watch Lost in Space in color. Holy cow! That was great. It was like the Wizard of Oz when it came on every year, that we all gathered around the TV to watch as kids, and we just love it every time it comes on. But that of watching a program when it airs is kind of out the window now these days. I mean, we don't need to think like that anymore. We just record it and watch it whenever we want to. But my sister was always deathly afraid of the witch, and we had a little mask in the closet that was a witch, and all I had to do was just show it to her, and she would go running, screaming.
Poor, poor kid.
Well, there was the oldest daughter and the oldest boy, and being the oldest boy, and with an Italian father, I kind of had some privileges and things. Like, first off, mom got 12 roses when I was born. And I teased mom. I go, you didn't get 12 roses when my sisters were born? No, sorry, I had nothing to do with it. I was just born,
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it was. And when you take driver's ed as a kid, my dad wanted me to at least know not to pull the hood release and not the parking brake, or to know the difference when they say put on the parking brake, so that it didn't pop up like it did when my sister Linda was in class, and she still talks about that to this day. You went driving with Dad when you were 14, before you were even legal age to drive with anyone, and we hit a deer because he came out of the lake, and you hit a deer. And I'm like, all right, just ding, so I never let that down. That's just how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is. So do you have one older sister and one younger sister?
Yeah, I have one older sister, one younger sister, and one younger brother. I had two older sisters. One of my older sister, Loretta, was killed by a drunk driving incident out in Las Vegas way back in 1982. And it's just a freaky thing where, when you go bike riding with a guy and a girl or whoever, usually the guy goes first in case, and he goes down or he tells you to stop or something, or he gets off his bike and starts directing traffic or whatever happens. But it's usually the guy that's going first is the one that's going to be in trouble. And that's what they did. And the guy wound up coming back the other way and swung around and hit her from the side. And it was just not a good scenario all the way around. But, what are you going to do? It happens a lot. And I have some friends in Chicago that had friends killed by on a bicycle or delivery route or whatever. And they have these ghost bikes. They have these ghost bikes in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah. And every May, they go around with all the people that have, folks that they lost by getting hit or getting an accident riding a bicycle. And they have a bike painted in white. They might have a picture of them on there, and they kind of refresh them every year. And they do tours where you go around and talk about the person's life and, what they were like and what they would be thinking right now if they were with us and all these kind of things. So they have ghost bike tours in Chicago, and I've seen a number of them out there. And it's kind of interesting. They're a little worried about when the area starts turning into condos and things, and that bike may not be able to be there anymore. But what can you do? What can you do?
So now, when you say they have ghost bikes, does that mean that there's an actual bike there in remembrance of the person, not a specter or an actual spirit of a bike going down the road?
That's correct.
Okay,
it's an actual bike, not necessarily their bike or the bike that they had the accident on or anything, but a bike, usually painted in white, and it's chained to like a permanent sort of pole where it can't be removed.
Okay.
And it might have a sign on there with a name or a photo, or it might be decorated for the holidays or something like that. And they kind of get updated every so often for these tours that they go on.
I did not know that was a thing. That's actually really very interesting.
It's very cool. Yeah. I imagine other cities do the same thing, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of biased, growing up and living in Chicago all my life. So everywhere, when I go somewhere, I have a high bar. I think because
you are actually a Chicago actor, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about. I mean, what do you do? What do you act in? What have you been in?
Well, you have an agent, and you go on auditions for commercials, industrials, trade, those kind of things, or maybe a bit part in a feature film. I started out, I guess, in probably the wrong field. I started out in engineering. believe it or not. And I always thought, well, if I study something really fun and exciting, I'm going to get work, and I'm going to have to be, you know, uh, finding something else to do besides what I studied in college to make money. And that's why I chose engineering. And I got out. I didn't really know what an engineer did. I got out there. I wish I would have done maybe a co-op, and I would have changed to radio TV, which was a really good curriculum down at Southern Illinois University, where I went to Carbondale.
Okay.
And what's kind of ironic is my dad worked his way up through night school to become a film editor for Channel 2 News, WVBM. And he was in New Jersey and finished the course, the night school. And they, hey, Jim, they're hiring in Chicago. You got to get out there. He went out there in the early 50s, and he was there, 20, 25 years later as a film editor. So he was in the film area. I could have, come back from school and hung out in the background there when Walter Jacobson and Bill Curtis were on the air, and Walter had like a 6-inch platform under his chair because he's a tiny man next to Bill Curtis.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So they were the same height, on the show.
Wow.
And I thought that was kind of funny and amusing. But my dad went to work, and they loved to work, and he talked about his family all the time, and what the great 5 kids that he had. And when he came home, he didn't really, it was a different person. He would talk about having to go in a car and drive down there and all the traffic and this and that. And, he's tired and he's hungry. He wants to go to bed, and he had a second shift for a while. And,
I can relate to that. I can understand that.
It was kind of a rut for a while. I mean, when he had an opportunity to be an editor for Walter Cronkite in Africa, and he traveled the world, and Mom was like, yeah, let's do it. And Dad just wasn't that motivated to do those kind of things at that time, and I was like a 10-year-old kid. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
If people like Ray Rayner and Lee Phillips would go to my dad and say, Dad, Jim, you got 5 kids. Why don't you bring one of them down and have eat some cereal first on camera? We'll see what we can do. Nah, it's okay. You're going to take them out of school.
See, that's funny, because growing up, I grew up in Kansas City. I was born in Independence. Actually, I was born in a place called the Sanitarium. It was an old insane asylum that had gone into the hospital business. And now I don't even know if it's called that anymore, but it actually became quite the big fancy hospital over the years. But when growing up in Kansas City, in that area, we had a lot of local UHF shows. And we had a spinoff of Bozo called Wizzo the Clown.
Oh my God.
And I got to be on that when I was a kid. And then we had it was like a Saturday morning live action with cartoons show. So it was called Mother Nature's Treehouse. And I got to be on that when I was a kid. And then I actually was in a group, and I can't remember the name. It was something like the Agape Players or something like this. This was back in the 60s, 70s. I can't remember, but they did like stage theater, and I was in a production of what the heck is it? The guy the Pied Piper, the guy who came and got the snakes and then took all the kids away.
Not HR Puffy stuff.
No. Although I think some of the actors in that group were puffing stuff. They were always kind of, I just remember them all being kind of really spaced out and mellow. And the director was a woman who was she was always angry because, but every performance seemed to do really, really well. There was always a great big, they had both a big theater, and then there was an outdoor amphitheater thing. And they were always packed. I don't know if we got paid. I think if we did, that went to my parents, and they kept that quiet. So,
That's great.
but
That planted a seed for you then,
it,
maybe to be sort of show business.
in a way, it didn't give me an acting bug like you obviously have. But what kind of things do you now? You do commercials, you do
The things
videos.
that I've been actually working with a lot of student films to be able to play varied and different parts and have a role in the actual sort of producing and directing and the lines. And maybe it would sound more natural if I did this, or how about doing that? And so I would work with the students from Columbia College or Loyola or Tribeca Academy, and you would audition for a student film. And if it was an ambitious enough film where it was interesting, then I thought it would play a specific kind of character role. I like to do character roles. Then I would take it, and I would do that, and that would be another short film that I could use as a demo on Actors Access or something like that. We did the one scene from the film Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro when they finally meet face to face in a like a cafe, and basically it's a good guy and the bad guy, and De Niro's like, hey, I do what I do, and if you get in my way, you're gonna go down, and then Al Pacino's like, well, if you get in my way, you're gonna go down, So we did that scene. The student director that I knew wanted to do that scene, and I got to play the Robert De Niro part, and my buddy played the Al Pacino part, and so I have that little scene that we did together, which was a lot of fun. But what's cool about film is that you can do it as many times as you want to get it right, and then you're done with that scene and you go on. It's not like a live show where it's a little more intense. I do like doing live shows, but it's a lot more time intensive, and if you really want to pursue acting on the stage in the theater, you really need to be in New York, I think, for that kind of thing. Yeah, you can do it here.
Probably.
I mean, it's just kind of how it is. But
it did not give me a bug for it. It really, in fact, probably the opposite. That experience, I remember it fondly, but I also remember. Again, I was a kid. I was like maybe somewhere between 8 and 10, which would be 9. But in that age range, and I don't really remember enjoying any other part of it other than when the show was going. I hated rehearsals. I hated doing that stuff. It was not a lot of fun.
What I wound up doing later on, as I was just so bored with the engineering thing, I took Barbizon School of Modeling. I taught modeling there. Basically have more confidence about yourself and whatever it is that you do and that kind of thing. And then I took Second City, Players Workshop, did some improv there, took some other acting classes. And I love the improv thing, but you go through the class and the course, and it's like, hey, bring family and friends to our show in 16 weeks. And I'm like, okay, I've done that. It's not going to get you another gig. It's just going to kind of let everybody have a good time and laugh and enjoy the show. So I like improv. I think improv is part of being a good actor, is be able to sort of, be on your feet and on your toes and come up with different things. Because when you go to an audition, they don't really know exactly what it is they want. That's the whole, dilemma of the whole thing is you read lines, the part, and they go, what do you want? You want this? You go, well, give me something and let's see what we got. And then you maybe do that a couple different ways. Then you go home and forget about it.
Yeah.
And then you hope that for some reason you match their criteria, and you look like you could be with the family you're going to be cast with and all that kind of stuff. So
and this half hour has absolutely blown by. We've actually got less than 90 seconds left. So why don't you plug your show? I did it before I gave you a call, but go ahead and plug your show here on 21.6 The Net real quick.
Yeah. Mike and Fran Unrehearsed, 21.6 The Net, Wednesdays at noon for 30 minutes. And Mom's ready to answer any of your questions out there. We go through and we kind of organize them a little bit to make a little bit of sense. We add a little levity to the questions, and we have just so much fun on that show. We're loving it. I want you all to tune in and submit your questions so that we can get them on the air.
Awesome. Mike, thanks so much for talking with me for a bit. Have a great Friday evening.
Thank you. You too.
All
Let's
right.
do it again.
See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, that was fun, and that actually went way, way, way too quick, I think, for me. But hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. Got to learn a little bit more about Mike and Fran, and thanks, producer, for queuing that up really loud right in my ear. But we'll catch you next time on a future episode of Random Chat here on 21.6 The Net. If you'd like to be on an episode of Random Chat, anybody can. All we're going to do is sit and talk for half an hour. Shoot me a note, Pete at 216thenet.com.